Hey yo, we're going. We are live. Lovely. Hi, hello. Just to be sure, it's the audio working. What do you mean has to happen? I'm doing this because I want to. Anyone watching this got the joke. Alright. Oh yeah, today's the 7th anniversary of FNaF. So this is a very convenient time. Are you sus? Yes. Alright. A review of a review? What? I'm breaking down my own video. Alright. Okay. We'll get started. So, first off with this video, so this video I started making in January of this year. It didn't come out until April 30th. So I worked on it for 4 months straight, nearly 5, but in March I had to stop working on it for a while. So I made this as a school project in my digital media class, where we learned how to make videos and stuff. So basically, yeah, this is a school project. I had complete free reign over what kind of video I made. So I was like, yeah, I'll do a 20-minute FNaF video. In the version of this that was a school project, the intro and the ending are actually different from this. I actually changed it for the YouTube upload. Because originally I had, in my project plan, it was make a video essay that's presented very, as if it's taking itself completely seriously, and then just throw in the most ridiculous kind of ideas out there. And then it would feature 2D art, 3D animation, which didn't make the cut, and live action segments, which also didn't make the cut. But I was like, I should probably put in a live action segment somewhere, just because I said I would do that, and I dropped the ball on some of the other stuff. So for the intro and outro, I actually filmed my friend in the class, and had my own narration and stuff with him responding to it. But I changed it because I was like, I probably don't want it. It was kind of very rushed, and the pacing was off. So I changed it for the YouTube upload because it didn't need to have a live action segment. And so I just did this little sketch with the little green shirt guy, and made the pacing much faster for the intro. Any news about Springtrap and Rivals of Aether? More work has been done on him, but I haven't said anything because I just want to wait till he's done, and it's taking a hot minute. But he's still going. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get started.
Can't go that way for some.
Hey you, Do you have any idea what the story of that game is? Would you like to hear a totally true and objective recounting of the franchise's timeline? Splendid. Now, let's begin. So already, I have something to talk about here. Is Green Shirt Guy a canon character? No, this has actually been like a stand-in like character that I've used ever since like I started the channel in 2017 in my old unlisted videos. And I actually used Little Green Shirt Guy as like an audience stand-in. And then I used him here again, because, yes. But he's not canon to FNaF. Anyway. So. I think originally I was going to make the audience stand-in a lot more, like, kind of arrogant. Like, oh, he totally knows the lore. And then I was going to be like, oh, no, you don't. But I forgot to record that line, so I was like, oh, I'll just have to make it more just straightforward. Which works. I didn't lose much there. This intro was way harder to actually nail down what I wanted to do with it. There was a completely different intro for the longest time, because it was one of the first things they set up, but the only thing that actually made the cut from the original version was the little Freddy running across the screen. Because originally it was going to do the Pizzeria Simulator title screen, zoom in on Freddy, and then he jump scares you, and then I just stopped working on the rest of the intro right then. And then when I was wrapping up production, I was just like, I have all these sequences that I made for the video I could just make into a montage for the intro. So that's what I did. And people really like the intro, so that worked out. Though I think that me making this intro actually messed up how the text looked in the other parts of the video. Because, like, if you notice in, like, any text blurb, like, all of it is very awkwardly squished together, which wasn't how it was intended. I think this font, I adjusted the spacing between the letters, and it somehow affected the rest of it. So, oops. Yeah. Just start the video. If you just want to watch the video straight up, you could just watch it. This is meant to break it down. I'm gonna be stopping every, 2 seconds to talk about stuff. It all started in the year 1983 in the small town of Hurricane, Utah. I keep getting comments that are like, actually it's pronounced Hurricane. Which, sure, probably. But also, that's dumb. I just think it's funny. Local robotics and fursuit enthusiasts Henry Emily and William Afton had realized a stunning lack of yellow bears in the heavily Mormon-dominated state, and knew they were destined to fill this void. I don't know how people, didn't start realizing something was up when I made a Mormon joke here. This entire, beginning sequence, was designed to, be so obviously wrong that going anywhere forward in the video, oh, this is a joke. Lots of people didn't get that somehow, but whatever. Y'all did. Yeah. Getting straight to work, they created Ferdinand von Bernard, a golden grizzly with the voice of honey butter. However... So, here's the thing with Ferdinand, right? People keep, being, commenting, oh, this is the Day Shift of Freddy's timeline. Probably because Ferdinand, even though this timeline has literally nothing in common with Day Shift of Freddy's, it's just that Ferdinand is a stock photo of a grizzly bear edited yellow with a top hat, like the real Fredbear in Day Shift at Freddy's, and people just are like, oh. But I just kind of didn't even think about the real Fredbear when I made Ferdinand. I just kind of forgot about that. But it's a funny coincidence. But I wonder if the reason people don't question Ferdinand but then get hung up over other jokes is because of Day Shift. um, but yeah, uh, but yeah, Ferdinand started as just me, uh, making just a joke name for Freddy in like 2016, because I like was doing this thing where I like did terrible drawings of like all the characters and gave them stupid names just for fun. Like Bonnie was Bernie Sanders, Freddy was Ferdinand, Foxy was Fax Machine. Um, and then when I was writing this, I was like, imagine if there was a prototype of Fredbear just named Ferdinand von Bernard or something stupid like that. Just really drag out the Fredbear name into Ferdinand von Bernard. And then he was only gonna show up in like the intro of this before he gets replaced. But then like later on, he actually like becomes a running gag. And that's how the video ends. So I'll talk about Ferdinand a bit more later.
The audio discs they used to mimic precisely what a real bear looked like were too convincing for the masses, and the entire...
I actually got a comment addressing the audio discs, and they were like, audio discs affecting how it looks? Sounds legit. And then I think I replied to them and I was like, fun fact, that's actually a real concept in FNaF. Audio discs that change appearance. The only thing that isn't true about the concept of the audio disc is Ferdinand's existence. Because the audio discs aren't ever in the games. Like, I think people were like, oh, audio discs at one point. But, like, there was nothing ever, like, confirming or denying their presence. So they're just kind of irrelevant. But I utilize them here. And it's stupid enough of a concept that it just sounds like it's fake.
entire town evacuated after thinking Ferdinand was out to eat them all.
This was a fun image to make. This was a very fun image to put together in Photoshop. Yeah, the hat design actually changed. The image of Ferdinand I always use is the first one that shows up, and that used a different version of the hat. But then, like, any other image of him that I made for the video uses the Help Wanted Nightmare Fredbear hat. But the only image I still have on me of, like, a raw image file is the original Ferdinand image. So it's always the old hat design whenever he reappears somewhere. Like, outside of this video. Yeah, Ferdinand started as just a bear. An unremarkable bear, but then, like, near the end of the production, I was just like, let's just make it where he's just stupidly omnipotent for no reason. But yeah, I put together this image in Photoshop and just got stock images of guys just running.
Contrary to what you may be thinking, this assumption wasn't unfounded. Ferdinand did in fact dine on a local restaurant owner that morning due to faulty coding on William's part.
I'm pretty sure that's Gabe Newell. I googled an image for, like, just a guy laying down, and this was, like, a funny one that worked. And then as I was photoshopping it to be transparent, I was like, wait, is that Gabe Newell? It's Gabe Newell, I'm pretty sure. And then there's William in the background. I think that's actually a Day Shift at Freddy's sprite. Yeah. Are you real? No. Yeah, Half-Life 3 isn't happening because of Ferdinand. Ferdinand ate Gabe Newell. Yeah, the fork.
Henry and William decided that Ferdinand was unappreciated in his time, and decided to make a cartoony redesign named Fredbear. It was at this moment that the partners realized Fredbear needed a location to actually reside in for people to come visit.
Okay, so this image was supposed to, like, be, an answer to Midnight Motorist, where Henry's actually setting up the mound from Midnight Motorist, and it's just got a sign that says Ferdinand von Bernard Appreciation Mound. And then we have Mrs. Afton just in the dump. I never saw, like, many people, like, actually address the little nods to Mrs. Afton. But I was, like, very happy with this detail. But yeah, Fredbear's just dancing on trash. Because they couldn't be bothered to actually give him a location. So they're just like, come to the stump and look at this dancing bear.
And so they bought out a local pizzeria that was recently closed for totally unknown reasons.
That was a funny
At this
sequence.
point, the restaurant was ready to open. The pizzeria was a hit, especially with...
There's a Ferdinand drawing. I, like, very rarely draw Ferdinand. I think I only did it twice in this video, and I've never done it again since. Yeah, I just, like, wanted to have, like, Henry and William just comically obsessed with Ferdinand specifically. And then, yeah.
kids. Henry and William had not anticipated the success, and poor Fredbear was overwhelmed by the attention. He tragically, spontaneously combusted on stage on February 31st, 1983.
The amount of people that got 2 minutes into this video and didn't figure out what was up, I don't know. The February 31st, I don't remember if I was referencing Scott's birthday, like his quote-unquote birthday from the interview, or if I just went with February 31st because it's just an obviously fake date. But yeah, spontaneous combustion because of being stressed out. I'm too entertained by stupid jokes like this, but they seem to work. But yeah.
Henry and William, now robbed of their star performer,
there's
had to
Fredbear
come
in a
up with an
coffin.
emergency plan to replace him. Their solution was to create 2 new animatronics, being Fredbear 2.0 and Spring Bonnie.
This little image was actually kind of like to reference the Ultimate Custom Night Fredbear teaser, where like he's just shrouded in darkness, with just like hints of the yellow on the sides. I don't know like how strong of a reference that wound up being in this picture, but that was kind of the thought process with this, to kind of reference that.
And have the suits built with the capability to climb inside and wear them by cranking back the endoskeleton interior with a new contraption they dubbed spring locks. This was done so that if the animatronics got too nervous, an employee would be able to take over and perform on stage for a brief amount of time. Ignoring the spring lock failures that killed Harold the janitor and Trevor the cashier, this
Harold and Trevor have been consistent things that I just inject into the timeline whenever I like explain it to people. Which this video is like the culmination of me just casually explaining the timeline to anyone I knew and just making it sound as stupid as possible. What time is it, Oof Troop? It's 2:46 p.m. But yeah, a lot of people like commented like, "Oh, this is actually a cool idea of the shadows being Springlock victims." But that was just a theory back in the day. And people were like, "Oh, this was some kind of new concept. I didn't make it up. This has just been like one of the oldest theories in the book is that, oh, the shadows are Springlock victim ghosts." Which isn't the case, probably, in the actual lore. It's like Remnant Agony or something. Yeah, Harold and Trevor, I just thought were funny.
Solution works wonders for the company. With a much higher tolerance for large crowds, the two characters won over the hearts of many, and Williams secured a deal to make a TV show called Freddy, Bear and Friends.
This was a fun drawing to make, but I didn't take very long on it, so they look kind of weird. I was like, oh, Malhare, make him a cartoon character and make Fred Bear look like Malhare for the show, the funny show. After I finished it, I was like, I should have made it a 4:3 aspect ratio. But whatever, no one cared. Yeah. This was also like a little individual teaser for the video I put up on the channel before the video came out. But yeah.
With a low-budget video entertainment company. As for Harold and Trevor, though, they just kind of showed up every now and then as shadow creatures that vaguely resembled the suits they died in.
I really like that drawing of the shadows. It's very simple, but just... I like it. I don't know
As
why.
this unfolded, however, William's two sons, Michael and Cassidy, had a feud.
This scene has been the bane of my existence ever since this video started blowing up. Because apparently 2 minutes 48 seconds in, people didn't get the memo that this video was not taking itself seriously, and they're like, Cassidy isn't his name. Like, yeah, I know. So I'll, like, explain the deal with Cassidy, because there's a very, like, specific story with this. Again, this video was written and recorded in January, and people, like, discovered his name was Evan and, like, discovered it was probably Evan in, like, February or March. So anyway, by the time people, like, started figuring out what its name might actually be, it was like, oh, I'm already, like, halfway done with this video, and I was not about to re-record it to get rid of the two Cassidys gag, which I didn't introduce the other Cassidy that's actually Golden Freddy until way later on in the video. Yeah, I was like, how do I address the Evan thing, because that's a big, like, that's a big problem for this joke. So originally I was gonna, like, have their names, like, displayed on the screen, and Cassidy was gonna be Cassidy Evan Afton, and it's just his middle name. But then I was like, no, I could do something funnier. And then I went with, if someone calls him Evan, they work for the bourgeoisie. Do not trust them. Like, but clearly that didn't work. But yeah. These were also two of the first drawings that I actually made. It was William Henry from, like, the first bit of the video, and then Michael and Cassidy here. And you can kind of tell that stylistically they're a lot simpler than, like, other stuff in the video. But yeah, and the two Cassidys thing was because people, like, kept debating if who was Golden Freddy, who was Cassidy, and I was like, yeah, there's two of them. One's the Afton, and one's the one you should not have killed. People that comment, his name is Chris. I have no idea what their deal is. Where did that come from? Not once has the name Chris been a thing. Like, someone must have just, like, been like, oh, we'll just call him Chris in some random video. And then people were like, oh, that must be his name. Like, if people were like, oh, his name is Joseph, maybe that would have made more sense just because, you know, FNaF VHS is real popular and stuff, and people might confuse that for being legit. But, like, Chris? Anyway, I'll move on, but there's a lot to unpack.
Going over a game of Uno, Michael had suffered a humiliating defeat in the card game.
I love that. This was a very fun little scene to put together. We have a Mike and Melissa reference up in the top right corner, where Michael is wearing the little hat. And then just a framed photo of Spring Bonnie, because of course William would have that. And then a photo of William and Mrs. Afton, with just Mrs. Afton X'd out. And then we have Cassidy here with Purple Guy's face. Just because I thought that would be very funny, especially in something like an Uno game where he wouldn't be crying. So he's just the most smug thing possible. And also, I was like, oh, why did the Foxy head get lopped off?
One night, after Cassidy made him
Michael
draw for
raged Uno. But yeah. But yeah. Let's see. Norman Aft. I don't know where that came from. It's less common, but yeah. And then there are people that are like, "Oh, the bite victim is Michael." Like, no. Like, if they watched MatPat, maybe, but like MatPat was like, "Oh no, I was wrong about that because of gum." Joe Biden Aft. How good are you in Uno? I don't know. I don't play at Uno enough to gauge my skill. But yeah.
or 8 turns in a row.
People actually realized, like, they commented, like, that's not actually possible to do in Uno, which means that the bite victim was cheating. And I feel like that just enhances it so much more. I didn't even think about, like, how many times you could actually draw 4 in Uno. But it can't be 8 times.
Michael's solution to this crushing defeat was simple. For the entire week leading up to Cassidy's birthday, Michael would jump scare him using a mask of one of William's new characters, Foxy.
This was actually one of the few times, like, an individual character from the core, like, 4 main characters is, like, name-dropped. Because I actually didn't really address their existence very much at all in this video. Just because they're not relevant to the story. They're just the mascots, basically. So it's very rare to actually see or hear about one of, like, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy in this.
This was very cathartic for Michael, but things got out of hand when Michael and his Uno buddies tossed Cassidy into the jaws of Fredbear 2.0, who suddenly got a nervous breakdown and clamped his teeth down on the boy's skull.
It's always a nervous breakdown. Always. Yeah. Wow, the chat's going fast. There was actually a different version of the script I wrote, like, a year before I made this video that had, like, a totally different, like, sequence of, like, running gags and stuff. And the reason Fredbear had like, gotten a nervous breakdown was, like, he felt threatened by the romantic gesture of getting a big kiss. And then I just didn't, like, do that again in the new script. I don't know if that was a purposeful choice or if I just forgot that I wrote that. Because originally there was going to be 2 Michaels instead of 2 Cassidys. With Michael the brother and Michael the little brother. But instead I went with 2 Cassidys. And I wish I did Michael 1 and Michael 2. But anyway.
Shockingly, this incident didn't kill Cassidy. He was quickly rushed to the hospital and was diagnosed with a mild concussion, much to Michael's relief.
Oh yeah. The FNaF lore is like so inherently dark that I actually like tried very hard to downplay the gravity of every situation in this. Because it would completely like mess up the tone of the video. Like, oh, this child died. Like, yeah, that's what happened in the actual story, but I tried to downplay like how like tragic the story actually is in this. So I was like, oh, the bite victim wasn't really injured. He just got a concussion. And he was fine. Also, bone ear. And gave Cassidy a bone ear. But yeah. And then we got Michael wearing the mask. That's what the meaning of the mask is. But yeah.
However, Cassidy then revealed that he never existed, and then disappeared directly
People, like, there's people that, like, are like, oh, it's not Cassidy, it's Chris or Evan or whatever. But then there are people that actually watch to this part of the video and actually try and correct it. Like, how do you do that? How do you still miss the point at this sequence? Like, a mild concussion, he just phases out of existence and merges with Michael. I don't need to get as hung up on this as I do, but it's like, how? How do you miss how does it go over your head that badly? But yeah, William-faced Cassidy is very funny. That's what the mask is. Dream was the bite victim. In this video, I speedrun Minecraft while getting hunted down by 5 nightmare animatronics. Will I beat the game, or will I get jump scared? Yeah.
before Michael's eyes, becoming one with him. All that remained on the hospital bed was a strange glowing orb of a substance later given the name Remnant. After Michael told his father what had happened, William looked at him in confusion, as he didn't recall ever having a second son.
I sometimes debate in my head whether or not this is Cassidy just, like, eradicating himself from ever existing, or if William's just gaslighting Michael here. So that's up for interpretation. But yeah. Let's try away.
At this point, Michael started questioning his sanity. However, the bite of 83 was still very real in the minds of the public, and so Henry and William watched as their...
I'm very proud of this newspaper. I'll actually just read it out to y'all. The Hurricane Screamer, the bite of this week. Local restaurant Fredbear's Family Diner is being shut down due to a fatal accident this morning. We have no idea who this bite actually killed, but we know it must have been somebody. I mean, look at Fredbear's teeth. Oh my gosh, that's some newsprint colored blood if I've ever seen it. Owners Henry Emily and Willie Mafton state that the golden bear and its ambiguously gendered rabbit partner will be retired and replaced with new, safer animatronics with a more diverse color palette. Among other things, sightings of the elusive golden grizzly bear, known as Ferdinand von Bernard, have risen once more. Potentially related, local citizen Jeremy Fitzgerald Sr. has been found dead in the woods. He is survived by his 3 sons, Jeremy Jr., Jeremy II, and little Jeremy. The family prides itself on having frontal lobes, faces, and not being animatronic rabbits. Look at the blood, so bloody. This is the only interesting story we have, so just keep your eyes on Fredbear's mouth. Please, it's all we have. Can someone please become a serial killer? That would be more interesting than this. Please, Carl, come back to me. But yeah, that's the newspaper. But yeah, 3 Jeremys. Because there's 3 Jeremys in the canon. So I just made them all the sons of 1 Jeremy. So the Jeremy Fitzgerald from FNaF 2, Jeremy, the kid that became Bonnie, and Jeremy, the VR tester that cut his face off after Malheur drove him crazy. Hold on. Alright. We shall continue now.
The restaurant was shut down. This wasn't the end, though, as William then revealed that they would be able to open a new restaurant using the characters introduced by the Fredbear and Friends TV show. And thus, the rise of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza began. Fast forward to 1985. William was hungry on a cold, rainy Tuesday night, and so he stopped by at a local McDonald's that for some reason had a sign labeled Juniors.
I would like a double cheeseburger and a large Coca-Cola.
That'll be $5, sir.
This was the moment William Afton snapped.
Where's my $5?
He remembered. Henry owed him $5 from Sunday night. William, now a broken man, angrily drove to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to confront his business partner.
So yeah, this entire section just goes without saying. Will you make a part 2 when Security Breach comes out, or will you just remake this? I don't know. But yeah, the $5. And what bothers me is I had an opportunity to follow it up with Lefty, and then I didn't. And I even mentioned, Lefty cost $5. But never did I, connect it with this. Was Sunday just a random choice? Yeah, Sunday was just a random choice. Tuesday was random too. Yeah. $5 is $5, enough to break any. But yeah.
However, standing at the door was Henry's daughter Charlie, who William realized would make the perfect example to put Henry in his place. It is at this time that I should mention William Afton is a psychotic serial killer who murders people in his spare time.
This little bit right here with the purple guy, that was actually one of the very first little scenes that I actually made for the video. And that's why it doesn't have, its own unique artwork or anything. Because this was, one of the first things I actually made in the video.
With Charlie out of the picture, William tossed her body right into the alley next to the restaurant, as he didn't actually know what to do to dispose of it. A security puppet meant to protect Charlie managed to sneak out of the restaurant, though, and before being soaked and destroyed in the rain, it clung to Charlie's body, and their collective souls fused together.
Yeah, the Charlie section, it's basically impossible to, lighten that up in any way, so I just didn't. But yeah. Let's see. An objective and true FNaF books timeline. That's something I thought about, but, the books aren't nearly as vague as the games are. So it'd be much harder to, cram in, stupid concepts and stuff for the novels just because they have a much more straightforward story. Yeah.
William felt awfully proud of himself, and decided that instead of leaving good enough alone, he should turn right back around and strangle a couple more children just to spite Henry some more. He dressed up in his old spring Bonnie suit, and lured them all to the back room by telling them their dead dogs were alive in there with Old Man Jenkins. None of these children actually had dogs.
Oh yeah, the Old Man Jenkins thing. Old Man Jenkins.
To begin with, but they were extremely gullible.
Also, I just thought it'd be funny if none of the kids had dogs, but he used that strategy on every single one of them. And they just kind of went with it for no reason. Yeah.
You may think this ended violently, but for some reason, William had a strange way of just killing people by casually walking.
I loved making... I'm pretty sure, like, anyone that I've shown this to that, like, knows about that Barnacle Boy meme just lost it at this specific scene. It's so dumb.
Walking up to them and staring them down. Thank goodness. After pulling this off, William disposed of the bodies by just tossing them inside some empty suits and waltzing
I love putting "Let's Not" on Chica's bib.
out without anyone noticing for a solid week and a half.
Also, withered Bonnie's face.
After people started smelling something, the restaurant closed and William's revenge was complete. 2 years later, Henry opened up a new location with stunning new plastic abominations, with state-of-the-art criminal detection scanners, and a knack for defying gender norms of the era.
Fun fact, this drawing of Mangle was originally gonna be like a joke on James Charles. But then I was like, no, Mangle deserves better than that. It looked the exact same as this, but it just had Mangle saying, "Hey, sisters." But I was like, nah, Mangle doesn't deserve that. I sometimes worry that this scene might be taken the wrong way. But it's not supposed to be. It's not meant to, like, be, like, harmful or anything.
However, within exactly 6 days of the place being opened, the old animatronics got possessed thanks to Charlie, now known as the Puppet, giving the missing children new life as decrepit animatronic monstrosities, and William purged an extra 5 kids from existence.
Unrelated, but why are the toy animatronics so much bigger than Freddy in that minigame?
They never came back up in the narrative after this point, but popular speculation believes all 5 of their spirits congregated in Balloon Boy because they thought it was funny. Also, the Mangle chopped off Jeremy Fitzgerald's frontal lobe in the Bite of 87.
Man, I wish I'd made more stupid character do the Bite of 87. I don't know why I went with Mangle. It's like the most boring option. I should have had Balloon Boy do it. And then, or like the Puppet, since neither of them can actually open their mouths. But yeah. Hey, oof, since your parents watch your videos, they saw this, I presume. Yes, they did.
But he was fine and it grew back in a month. Regardless, the bad press from these rapidly occurring incidents forced Henry to shut it down, flushing the thousands of dollars he spent on the new animatronics right.
Gamer Toy Freddy. I wanted to make it where, like, he was the only toy that, like, got away with not being trashed, other than the puppet that's just hiding. But Toy Freddy, being a gamer, just, like, became the face of Nintendo power in this universe. It's stupid, but it's funny.
Down the drain. William, now content with these circumstances, decided it was high time to start his own company alone without the risk of losing another $5 to a business partner. So, he founded Afton Robotics, and created a brand new quartet of characters for his sister location of Freddy's called Circus Baby's Pizza World. However, these animatronics had a quirk to their designs. Each one was designed to lure and capture children to extract their remnant so that William could study the strange substance and gain immortality or whatever.
There's his motivations. Like his actual canon motivations, immortality or whatever. I said it. But yeah.
Also, their faces are chrome and can open up for no reason. The problem with making murder robots is that they murder people. William learned this the hard way.
This drawing I actually made is just like a standalone doodle at one point. It would be funny if William was just crouching down and saying no to Elizabeth with no context, and I was like, this would work in the actual video. So I remade it in like full color and stuff. Just because it was funny.
When he found out
Oh yeah, there's a kid back there. A weird looking kid, like the mini game where they just have this weird buck tooth.
6-year-old girls tend not to take you seriously when you tell them not to walk up to the pretty clown robot with an ice cream dispenser. His 6-year-old daughter Elizabeth walked up to the pretty clown robot, obviously, and instead of giving her ice cream, Circus Baby straight up just launched a claw at her and stuffed her inside her endoskeleton. Now that William's designs were proven to work properly, he chickened out and closed the restaurant before it even opened, and blamed it on gas leaks, because apparently, accidentally killing your own child is traumatic or something.
This little scene right here was like the first one I made, actually, like with the backdrop and stuff, which is why it's like so much more like crudely made than the other quote-unquote 8-bit minigame style scenes. I don't even really know what to call the minigame style, because it's not 8-bit, it's not pixel art in the slightest. Scott's minigame style is literally just a rectangle tool to mimic pixel art, but it's not pixel art at all. And then with this style, I like just exaggerated how it looked to give it a more stylized and neat, like unique look to it. Which is why like there's a ton of slants and stuff. But yeah.
Smooth.
Oh yeah, there's a psychic friend Fredbear. And William has alcohol. I don't think the chat's loading properly for me at this point. But yeah.
Move, Mr. I murdered 11 children for literally no reason.
I could have delivered that line better. That
On
was a
Henry's
funny
side of
line.
things,
It was just
he
kind
just
of
grabbed the
delivered
creepy,
poorly.
smelly old animatronics that were missing their faces and hands, and just went, yeah, I can fix this, and then did exactly that. Sometime between 1987 and 1993, he opened the final Freddy's location of the 20th century and reception to the pizzeria.
This little sequence is obviously a reference to a prior one with a much fancier looking location for the 1985 characters. And then this one's just Fred's with a top hat on top. And then a tumbleweed to signify no one comes here. Also, this is like a very popular little timestamp for commenters because they're like, Among Us door. Yeah, Among Us door. It wasn't intentional, but it's clearly Among Us.
Amounted to resounding ew. As it turns out, people usually aren't attracted to restaurants with histories of employees dying in Springlock suits and
This right here is actually one of my original characters. She's on the top right of my banner, my YouTube banner. Her name's Cammy. And I've since redesigned her since this video. She has a different design now. Yeah, this was just a fun little cameo, for anyone that like actually knew of her existence. But when this video released, and then just this kid, and then we got Henry, just desperately obsessed with Ferdinand still. Yeah.
children suddenly being turned into animatronics by creepy marionettes. Come 1993, the place probably gets like 2 customers a week, and there are cobwebs everywhere, and they got desperate for a security guard after the head guy died to all 4 animatronics in the restaurant.
I think that was like the only time I actually like put all 4 of the original characters together in one shot. Because usually they were just like visual, just like thrown in the background of scenes just so that they actually had representation, because they didn't in the script. Yeah, I wanted to actually like give Phone Guy a little bit of attention since he kind of got swept to the wayside.
Good thing he left some voice messages to help out the new guy. Speaking of the new guy, remember Michael Afton? He applied. He also called himself Mike Schmidt when he joined the Fazbear family, likely due to his father's tendency to murder entire rooms of people every other Tuesday. Michael had a very useful skill that he inherited from Cassidy after the boy vanished from space-time and fused his mind with Michael's, sitting still and hiding like a coward. So naturally, Michael did a fantastic job for his 5 Nights at Freddy's.
Roll credits. Yeah, the drawing of William there was funny. I think I was gonna make it a more elaborate scene, but then I was like, nah, I don't feel like it. The new FNaF Plus trailer's out. I need to watch that later. I have like no expectations for FNaF Plus just because I haven't looked into it very much. But hey, someone's gotta be carrying FNaF right now. And Phil Mork is the only one doing it. Because Mr. Cawthon decided, oh, I'll retire, and Steel Wool decided, hey, we're never gonna, like, acknowledge this game exists. Thanks, Fitznaw.
And then even worked some overtime hours for the 6th and 7th nights. What a champ. Unfortunately, Michael didn't get the memo that tampering with animatronics isn't recommended for a healthy work environment.
That scene was actually remade for the end product, because there was actually a much, much earlier version of it that was there for the longest time. But Michael had like a completely different like design to him that I was using, and like his color scheme was completely different. And the scene just looked bad. So I completely remade it to look like the rest of the video and actually look decent.
Previous employee Fritz Smith learned this the hard way.
Phone Guy with a gun does not get enough appreciation.
Since Michael cranked the character's AI to the maximum setting just for the challenge, Henry decided to fire him for his own well-being and just blamed it on him forgetting to apply deodorant before coming to work that night. The restaurant closed like a week later because literally
Poggers out of order.
nobody was coming to eat there. That's what you get for just making the animatronics inexplicably creepy looking, Henry. Back to Michael though, his desire to tamper with animatronics and play chicken.
Fun fact. Whatever is behind him is shaped like a coffin. There's a lot of backgrounds that like have no rhyme or reason to what they are. It's just there. New FNaF Plus trailer. Okay, I'm out. Bye. You got your priorities in the right place. This video will stay up after the live stream's done, by the way, so don't worry about like leaving or whatever. Yeah.
And with death was only growing stronger. Lucky for him,
That was a very difficult line to actually do. Only growing stronger. I kept messing up the growing, I think. Only growing stronger. Only growing... whatever, you know. That was a difficult line.
William had converted Circus Baby's Pizza World into an underground bunker that you could rent the animatronics from after Freddy's closed down. Before Michael went down there for his first night, William dropped him with the demand that Michael find Elizabeth's soul and free her.
Father, how do you expect me to do that? Oops, I couldn't hear you.
I think this is like a lot of people's favorite scene, and for good reason. I enjoyed this one a lot. I recorded like the voice impressions way later than I recorded the main script, just because I wanted to get into like the vibe of the characters. show us Mike's old design. Yeah, I will in a little bit. Yeah.
I'm going to vandalize Henry's house again. I will come back.
He didn't come back.
There's the only reference to William's catchphrase in the entire video. I always come back. He didn't come back. I think some people were like, but he always comes. I don't think that happened. It might have once. But it's just like some people addressed it, and it was funny. Because, it's completely opposite of his entire calling as a character.
Michael then befriended the only animatronic to ever actually speak.
Accentuating that Circus Baby is gigantic because way too many people make her tiny, even though she's 7 feet tall canonically.
Speak her mind about anything. Baby. I don't know how dumb you have to be to trust a word a probably haunted robot designed to murder children says, but Michael was the guy who threw his brother into an animatronic bear's mouth just for kicks and giggles, so I can't say I'm surprised. The other animatronics in the facility weren't as welcoming though, and they would just try and murder Michael on the spot despite Baby coming up with a way better plan as the week progressed. One night she decided to...
Here's Michael with a little drawing of him and Baby being all friends, and Baby's just not having it. A couple people noticed this detail, but it's so small that I doubt many people noticed it.
Enough was enough with being fake, and she just kidnapped Michael and stuffed him in a springlock suit without a second thought. Other than having to wind the springs to avoid being impaled while tiny ballerina goblins crawled inside the suit all over him, Michael managed to get out just fine, minus the fact he was just missing his pancreas with no context given.
The pancreas.
He went home to watch another episode of a subpar soap opera made by the same company that produced Fredbear and Friends.
I thought adding that as a little detail would be a neat little continuity thing. This is not like any deeper details than that. I just thought it would be a neat thing to throw in there.
And the next day got tricked by Baby into waltzing straight into the room he just saw the night before with a machine that scoops out animatronic endoskeletons. Michael decided the best course of action while facing this deadly machine was to just stand directly in front of it.
That's like a genuine thing that bothers me a lot about the sister location ending. Michael had like a full 30 seconds to get out of the way, and then he just didn't. He just stood there and took it like a champ. It's so dumb, but it works for the video.
And the animatronics, now merged together into an entity called Ennard, scooped out his organs and skeleton and climbed into his skin to escape the facility and live out life as a normal human person. After a couple days, the dead skin suit rotted and turned purple, and Ennard realized that people noticed that kind of thing. Ennard threw himself up out of Michael's body and told him, "Oh, you won't die, haha." And Michael just magically possessed himself and walked away like nothing happened. He still had no bones. When he got home, he realized that William didn't ever come back, but he still talked about what happened as if William could possibly hear.
This is one of the few times I actually drew Michael in like the 2D style. But I love drawing him with like this weird Venus flytrap looking mouth. I just have always done it that way, and it's been fun. Just like having a balloon of William to talk to, because he couldn't be bothered to find him.
Hear him and vowed that he would find him. Then Mike did absolutely nothing for 30 years other than have nightmares about the animatronics from the 1993 Freddy's restaurant in order to gaze upon the elusive true form of Ferdinand von Bernard, known most commonly as Nightmare Fredbear.
This is a little bit of Ferdinand lore that not many people seem to address, is that his true form is Nightmare Fredbear. And he's right there. And that's why the nightmares were had, was just so that Michael could look at him. I enjoyed drawing this little scene with Fredbear, just because it was funny. I love drawing him to look really stupid.
What was William up to, anyway? Well, when he went to vandalize Henry's house, he ran into a barbed wire fence, which proved to be slightly painful to trespass.
Painful emotionally. He could easily walk around it, but it says go away, Will. This hurts his feelings. There's like this brush on Clip Studio Paint that's just a barbed wire. So I just used it to make this stupid looking thing instead of like actually drawing a proper fence. And I think that makes it way more funny that way.
Pass. So he turned his attention to the now closed Freddy's location and started tearing the animatronics to shreds with his bare hands. Why nobody tried this when the characters were an actual threat is beyond me. As it turns out, the ghosts of the kids William murdered were in those suits, and so they all ganged up on William and just kinda stared at him. One of them followed him around a little bit, so he ran into the safe room hidden in the restaurant and dressed up in his rusty old Spring Bonnie suit for some reason. I don't know if he thought that would help trick them or if it was just a comfort character or something.
I got a few comments that were like, hey, he wore the suit because he thought it would protect him. Yeah? It's kind of what I was addressing here. There was really no good reason for him to do that.
Regardless, the leaky ceiling and William's dramatic evil laughter caused the flimsy spring locks to snap back into the endoskeleton form, and William was impaled in literally every single place you could think of. And in death, William Afton became Springtrap. 30 years later, some surfer dude decided it would be funny to open a horror attraction based on the Freddy's locations due to their discomforting animatronics and history of child murder incidents.
I did not give Phone Dude enough time to exist in this video. I think that was the only time I addressed him as just some surfer dude. The entire second half of this video, I feel like I could have expanded upon way more comedically. But, like, after the 10-minute mark, it just kind of starts recounting the events directly. Because there's not nearly as much, like, vague, like, empty areas of the timeline when it gets later on.
Before he could open the location, though, he wanted to find a real animatronic to toss into the attraction and sit there, I guess. Lo and behold, he managed to find the one animatronic that had a dead serial killer inside it, and despite the probably awful smell, he just threw it in there without a care in the world. Also, Springtrap continued his age-old method of murder by just casually walking up to the security guard and staring at them. 5 nights later, and the faulty wiring in the attraction shorted out, and the entire building burned to the ground. Springtrap turned out okay, though. Granted, he lost his pants.
Yeah, the Dark Springtrap in Sister Location just doesn't have the suit pelvis. He's got the endoskeleton pelvis, but not the suit pelvis. Like every ignited Springtrap design or whatever, like has like very dramatic damage to him. Like sometimes like half the mask is gone and it's got a missing jaw or missing hand or something. And then the Canon one is just missing the pelvis and the ear wire. And he's completely fine otherwise. It's like so weird. And then like any merch of Dark Springtrap doesn't retain that detail and it's just a recolor.
And he wasn't gonna just live with that. So, after escaping the charred remains of the building, he managed to find the old Fredbear's location and dig up another Spring Bonnie suit to get inside after painfully prying his tangled up.
This was just a cool scene to make. And like show him like just like wringing himself out of the suit with like how mangled his body is, just like crawling out of it like a snake or something. A lot of people like don't realize that he actually can get out of the suit because he did it in the novels. Granted, it was with surgery, but like with that, he was able to actually like just sit in a wheelchair relatively unscathed. Whereas like with Scraptrap, like he's still like a complete mess that would probably still need a suit to like keep himself together or even just presentable at best. So it just played into that.
Left guts out of the old one. Also, he decided to stop going by Springtrap and start going by Afton again. Don't worry about it. Anyway, remember Ennard? Yeah, so after floating around in a sewer all this time, 3 out of 4 of the animatronics in there got sick of Baby making all the creative decisions, and so they just kinda tossed her out. Then they put the most obnoxious member of the group, Funtime Freddy, in charge, and he themed their entire persona around him. What a loser. Baby, meanwhile, took some traffic lights and plastic and a giant claw and fashioned herself a new body to go out and walk around or whatever. Don't worry about this, it's never addressed again. Henry was still alive, by the way, and he decided that it was high time to finally do something about all the
This was a neat shot. I thought this was neat.
undead animatronic menaces running around in Hurricane, Utah. He opened a brand new Freddy's Pizzeria and hired a random person to be the manager, in the hopes they're gutsy enough to salvage 3 death robots and fend them off while buying party hats in a cramped metal office.
The entire, setup of FNaF 6 is so funny to me, because there's no reason for it to be as dangerous as it is. Let's see. But yeah.
This random person just so happens to be Michael Afton, who did
I loved making this little design of Michael with the little suit. Look at him, he's so adorable, he's trying his best.
despite literally
And there's Lefty.
dying brutally to Ennard, decided that it would be a great idea to do this a 3rd time and see what would happen. Coincidentally, Michael's very unmotivated goal of finding his father worked out perfectly because Afton just kinda showed up on it.
That picture scrap trap took quite a few hours to make. Not quite a few, it was maybe 1.5. There was a lot of time spent making that picture of scrap trap, and he's in there for literally 1 second.
His own. Scrap Baby and Ennard, now called Molten Freddy, also showed up and Michael dragged them into the vent system for sweet, sweet cash.
Wanted to make them look like just 2 tiny little children that he's just having to babysit.
Now, Henry had one last trick up his sleeve. He had figured out Charlie possessed the puppet and was still out there somewhere, so he designed an animatronic that could lure, capture, and contain her. He called this animatronic Lefty, and then did everything in his power to get Lefty into the restaurant by either selling him on the shopping
The $5.
catalog for $5, or making Michael salvage him to earn way more money. Once every animatronic was tossed into the ventilation system, Scrap Baby finally piped up and gave a little monologue about how she was super excited to do what she was created to do and murder children to make her dad proud. Afton said nothing regarding this matter, so I don't think he actually cared. Henry cut her off though and revealed that the entire pizzeria was a trap designed to finally destroy the last remnants of his legacy.
Oh yeah, you can actually hear Scrap Baby and Henry's voices in the background in this little part. Just because I thought that would be neat.
And end everything once and for all. He also told Afton that the darkest pit of hell was waiting for him, which was kind of a given, thanks to the whole serial killer thing. William Afton, now burned alive in a second fire, suddenly wakes up in front of a character selection screen.
I love how nonchalant he is. I know I made this, but all these details were added just because I liked them.
For what seemed to be a challenge to fend off almost every animatronic he and Henry had created. He was even on there twice as Springtrap and Afton. What a deal.
I think at one point I was going to make that a little reference to that one Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other, and then I just forgot to do that before I finished the video. So it's just kind of a lame sequence of Springtrap and Scrap Trap's jump scares.
William immediately cranked all 50 characters shown on the screen to their highest difficulty, and was greeted with the most obnoxious night of his entire existence. After a week of dying over and over with characters talking about how this was the making of, William managed to actually reach the end of the night, and discovered that the one he should not have killed was a child named Cassidy.
So 16 minutes, 57 seconds in, and the second Cassidy's finally revealed. I kind of wish I, actually threw him in way sooner. When addressing the bite victim, just, make it clear there were 2 Cassidys for no reason. but oh well.
Not to be confused with Cassidy Afton, who was fused with Michael Afton.
There you
This
go.
Cassidy appeared every now and then as a ghostly form of Fredbear called Golden Freddy, and just purged people from existence because he could. Having this randomly unique ability made him feel real high and mighty compared to the other children that William definitely also should not have killed, but whatever, we won't worry about it. After Cassidy had his fun torturing William, he phased out of existence, and William managed to crawl back into our
I am half me, Malhair. This was just a neat scene to put together. We got like blocks with like error textures, where it's just like the black and pink squares, and then William like fused together with Malhair.
realm and possessed a virtual reality game that Fazbear Entertainment made in order to cover up all of his crimes. How the company survived after Henry shut it down, I have no idea. Regardless, William decided to manifest himself as a virtual version of his original Spring Bonnie suit, and thus Glitch Trap was born. However, Glitch Trap is a boring name, so I elect to call him Malhair, and will do so for the rest of this video.
Little did I know that I would make an entire like 8-minute rant just about Malhair's name. The thing with Malhair is like a lot of people now associate like complaining about his name with me, but I actually like started like made it such a big deal because one of my friends like is a lot more obsessed with the name than I am, and I was pretty neutral on it for a while, but then I just like dived right into it and like made it a big running gag.
Malhair managed to drive every single beta tester of the VR game insane, and after setting everything in motion, he watched as the final beta tester did every step necessary to complete his plan to invade her.
That clip is from the Princess Quest minigame in the mobile port of Help Wanted, by the way. A lot of people asked me about that, but that's where it's from.
Her mind and be able to come back to the real world. This beta tester's name is Vanny, by the way.
I kind of wish I didn't like speedrun through the new games like I did, because I could have drawn out the Help Wanted section a lot more and like properly explained it and like made it a lot funnier. But I think at this point with the script I was just done, and I don't know the new lore well enough to like elaborate on it much, because you can explain it really quickly. And given that it doesn't have any of the recurring characters from the start to FNaF 6, it just wouldn't have connected as much.
Once Malhair infiltrated Vanny's mind, he began to give her commands and she would follow.
I love this shot. After all this time, he finally crawls his way back into the real world. Just to get a McDouble, finally.
them accordingly. Anyway, Vanny started tampering with Fazbear Entertainment's special delivery service and introduced a replica of Springtrap into their rental system for no reason.
That's actually canon, by the way. She actually does that in the special delivery lore. And the emails is what that's confirmed, and like she introduced Springtrap into the system, the rental system, which has literally no bearing on like Springtrap's existence otherwise. He's just there.
William doesn't even possess him, he's just there. Still, Springtrap is rad, so I don't care. So, to catch you up, everyone but William is dead, Vanny is just now coming onto the scene, and Fazbear Entertainment has gone crazy with
Markiplier, because he was in an actual special delivery advertisement, which is very funny.
covering up their crimes, renting out glitchy at best, murderous at worst animatronics to people, and now they're on their way to open a gigantic pizzaplex with 4 brand new glam rock animatronics that can house entire children inside their stomachs. And Vanny is dressing up in a rabbit costume to murder them. Gotta love family traditions. Oh yeah, Vanny's probably an Afton.
That was Vanny being an Afton is like an actual possibility. Again, because of the special delivery emails. Because I think like her name is like Vanessa A or something. Her last name starts with A. So the implications. Like, I think anyone that's like speculating on that thinks she might be Michael's daughter or something. Or maybe it's just nothing. Who knows? Yeah, I thought that would be a funny thing to just close that off real quick with, and then never address it. Just because that's kind of a bombshell.
Now, do you got all that?
What happened to Ferdinand von Bernard?
You silly goose. Ferdinand never left. Ferdinand sees all. Ferdinand knows all. Ferdinand is here.
Ferdinand has revealed the truth.
Ferdinand made the video, guys. Eventually, like, when people, like, were addressing this, I, like, started going with this bit that Ferdinand made me make the video and then took all the credit for himself. Well, like, this was just supposed to be a funny gag to wrap it up with and bring back Ferdinand one last time, because he just kind of dipped after the Nightmare Fredbear part. So it's like, it'd be funny if he just made the video. And that's the end of the video. Yeah. Let's see. It took 1 hour, 15 minutes, 45 seconds to get through the whole video. It took me 4 months to make it, so this is record time explaining it. But yeah, let's watch some Scott the Waz. Okay, just watch some Scott the Waz. Hey y'all, Scott here. You ever play Five Nights at Freddy's? Yeah. Let's see. So what I'll do. Hold on just a second. Alright. Just give me a minute. I'm gonna pull up the original scene for the Michael working on Freddy. And then I'll show that. Okay. Alright. Y'all ready for the original version of that scene?
Unfortunately, Michael didn't get the memo that tampering with animatronics isn't recommended for a healthy work environment. Previous employee Fritz Smith learned this the hard way. Since Michael cranked the character's AI...
Yeah, that was the original version of the scene. Ta-da. It looks like garbage. Sans is Ness confirmed. Did William ever get his $5? No. Okay.
Unfortunately, Michael didn't get the memo that tampering with animatronics isn't recommended for a...
There we go. Scott the Waz. Yes, I like watching Scott the Woz. Can we please watch Scott the Woz on your own time? He looks like a snake person. Hey, all. His eyes. So bad. Yeah. This was one of the first things made for it, which is why it looks like it does. FNaF security breach ending, William gets his $5. Can you explain a Scott the Woz video? But yeah. Any other questions? An objective and true Scott the Woz timeline. Explain the Scott the Woz lore. Okay, so there's this guy. His name is Scott the Woz. He's a sociopath and likes stupid Nintendo games and commits tax evasion. And he eventually saves Ohio from a blue border. The end. This all could have been avoided if Henry gave William his $5. Alright. Explain what happened to Ferdinand after the FNaF timeline video. He pesters me every now and then runs off to some random state. Someone say tax evasion? Alright, boys, call the IRS. Who was in Paris? Ferdinand. Yeah. What happened to Cassidy? Cassidy Afton fused with Michael Afton, and then Michael Afton died in FNaF 6. And then Cassidy Golden Freddy phased out of existence after torturing William for a while. Is William canonically Barnacle Boy? No. Ferdinand was the blue border. Why does that image look so cursed? Probably because it never made the cut, so you're not used to it, and it just looks bad. Why didn't you include Michael in FNaF 3? Because Michael wasn't in FNaF 3. He didn't go find William until FNaF 6. Ferdinand broke into my house. What do I do? This guy is turning purple with his power. He's not that powerful. He just likes to play it up. So who worked there then? It doesn't really matter. I like thinking Henry did. Just because it makes FNaF 6 make that much more sense. Because he's like aware that William's out there. Anyway. One time I saw Ferdinand at Walmart. Where do the books fit into all of this? They don't. How did you thought of the death of Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy? That wasn't a new concept. Like, I think FNaF is at the point where so many people are new to it that they aren't aware of old theories from 2015. One of them being that the shadows were Springlock victims. What happened after Afton when he got Springlock? He became Springtrap. Why does Henry owe William $5? Henry really, really, really needed the $5 to afford a copy of Duck Hunt on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Anyway, I thought about showing, like, the project files for the drawings and stuff in the video, but there wouldn't really be much to explain. It'd just be, oh, this is what it looks like without this section or whatever. So, what you see in the video is, like, the most interesting part because it's all put together. But yeah. I think I'll wrap it up now. That was the video. Took me 4 months, and, why did you choose Henry's design as the way he was in FNaF World? I don't think the guy in the desk guy in FNaF World is even supposed to be Henry, but it's like just a design that works. So I gave him a little hat and boom, Henry. Toy Freddy versus Scott the Woz. 4 months well spent, yeah, definitely. Can you please give a non-canon answer to Scraptrap's arm? It just kind of fell off. But yeah. I will say that I wrote a video that's kind of a spiritual successor to this one. It does its own thing, but, like, the vibe is there. Yeah. That's one little plan right there. But it's going to be called Objective and True FNaF Trivia, unless I change the name at some point. How does Scott the Woz fit into the FNaF timeline? Well, Scott the Woz told Scott Cawthon to stop. Scott Cawthon has stopped, so I think Scott the Woz is like some sort of omnipotent being in the FNaF timeline. But what happened to Phone Dude? He's in the Bahamas somewhere. How did Henry know William would vandalize his house? William does it like every day, because he even told Michael, I'm going to go vandalize Henry's house again, so Henry knows what's up. Scott the Woz is Scott Cawthon. FNaF movie is this. But yeah. Yeah. That's it. Thank you very much for watching both the original video and this stream. Yeah. And happy birthday, FNaF. Woo! Alright. Bye-bye.